Hello, all you wonderful Authors Love Readers podcast listeners out there. I'm so happy that you're here. Before this episode starts, I want to talk a little bit about Patreon. And the first thing I want to say is we have a charter Patreon supporter, Linda D. I'm so excited that we have a Patreon supporter and that she was the one who broke the ice and started us. And amazingly, then we have two more supporters who came right behind her. We have Jennifer S. and Laura D. We hope more of you will join Lisa, Jennifer, and Laura in becoming a Patreon supporter of Authors Love Readers podcast. And I wanted to talk a little bit about why I'm asking for your support of the podcast through Patreon donations. Let me tell you, it's really hard for me to ask. As my friends would tell you, I'm not good at asking for help at all. The reason that I set up for the Authors Love Readers podcast, it is not for me as an individual author. It's strictly for the podcast. I would love for the podcast to become self-supporting because I've been supporting it to this point. The expenses include having the podcasts edited, because you'll be surprised to know we talk longer than you actually listen. And I have a monthly fee for hosting the files because these are big files. And what I would love is to have people donate, a couple dollars a month would be terrific. $2 a month would be 50 cents an episode. It would be a sign of support and it would help defray some of these costs. So that would be the way I could keep the podcast going on. And I hope you'll consider that. Thank you. Hi. Welcome to this week's Authors Love Readers podcast, where we delve into the stories behind the stories. We're asking authors questions, some of them fun, some of them serious, and from their answers, you're going to learn things you never knew about the people who write the stories you love. My name is Patricia McLinn. I'm your host and designated question asker.
I'm Jennifer Stevenson, and I'm an author who loves readers.
Now, let's start the show. Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Authors Love Readers podcast. My guest this week is Jennifer Stevenson, and I don't know how many ways I can say this. Jen, I tell people how we met, how we know each other. They will be just astonished to hear it's through Novelist Inc. And we also have in common being originally from the Illinois, Chicago area. And having, we were talking a little bit before we got on, and some of it was old home week with knowing the locations of each other's lives. So, Jennifer, tell us some about what you write. I'm looking forward to hear how you describe it.
Well, I write romance into all my stories, pretty much. Oh, I would say all of them. But some of them are fantasy, some are paranormal romance, some are romantic comedy. Everything I write has got humor in it. I don't seem to be able to avoid putting it in. So, hey, let's be great about it. Let's be happy. Yay, I write humor.
It's a particular kind of humor, don't you think?
I've been told. You tell me.
Okay. Tell them the name of, I don't know if it's your most recent series.
My largest series is Coed Demon Sluts, which is about, it's basically the Adirondack Chair women's fiction series, 5 gals in different stages of life with ordinary problems. This one's husband divorced her, that one's stepfather is sort of a child molesting, sexual abuser bastard. The other one's overweight and her life has been shaped by being fat. But they all try to solve their problems by signing contracts with hell to become succubi, sex demons.
Which happens so often.
I'll tell you, after writing these 5 books, I wanted the deal too. I wanted Delilah to come to me and give me the contract. It was such a great deal.
So that should give readers somewhat of a view of what kind of humor we're talking about. So I don't think that's necessarily snarky.
At times.
Oh,
sometimes
okay.
Sometimes it's very sweet.
When it's warranted, it's snarky. But it is a particular worldview.
Yeah, I can't explain it. My first book was called Trash, Sex, Magic. So what can I tell you? I don't seem to be falling far from the tree there. Just a little on the weird side.
Okay, we're going to do a few questions to let the listeners get to know you. What childhood book do you really associate with, or do you feel like did it addict you to stories?
Very hard to say. My mother was reading stories to me and my brother before we really knew that she was reading aloud. I mean, we were literally infants. Um, but so the picture books, I can't tell you. But the first, she was also reading to us way over our heads.
Yeah.
So the first stories that I remember understanding were Kipling's Just So stories.
Oh.
You know, how the elephant got its trunk and how the whale got its tiny throat and stories like that.
Huh.
And then she read Kipling's Soldiers 3, which are stories, very much adult stories, very sophisticated stories about British occupation of India, and with enormously complex adult matter in them. And my brother and I didn't care. My mother was a wonderful reader. We would read the phone book, but she loved these stories. And so we listened. And like a lot of people who become bookish later in life, we learned if we didn't understand what was going on, you just wait and maybe you'll pick it up.
Yeah.
This is where science fiction readers come from. They get addicted to that being on the edge of not knowing what the heck is going on, and just keep reading. It'll all come together. You'll figure it out.
Have you ever written science fiction?
I would say no. I've done a few short stories. I wrote one space opera, which has never seen the light of day. But I'm not a high concept science fiction sort of person. I'm much too involved in character and frankly in romance. You know, science fiction has, as a genre, has gotten more friendly, much more friendly to great characters, but they've never been that hot about romance.
I wonder if they are writing that way. That's kind of the way I write, where just keep going, it'll come together.
Too much
I will
plot,
figure
Pat.
out what my subconscious left here and there.
Yeah, you can maybe sometimes what your natural bent is just isn't right for a particular genre. You know, you can
Yeah.
love reading it, but not be the best at writing it.
So what got you interested in romance, writing romance?
I always wanted to read. I loved reading. I think when I was a page in a library.
Oh, my first job.
Really?
Yeah, after a little babysitting, but then my first like get a paycheck job was
Right,
a page.
$2.25 an hour back in the 70s. Right, terrible, terrible. Okay, but one of the other pages handed me Columbella by Phyllis Whitney, and I started reading romance, and I was crazy in love with it, and my parents were dead set against it. That is trashy, trashy stuff. You should never read that. You're smarter than that. And they barely put up with me reading science fiction. But they wanted me reading the classics, which, there's only so much of that a person can stand, I guess. They didn't even approve of Jane Austen, though. Okay, so.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Right? So I didn't do romance I never tried to write it. I put it behind me and I read more intellectually challenging work, and I read science fiction and fantasy and a lot of mystery. And then when I started writing, I started in science fiction and then fantasy, and then in like 1998 or so, I started writing romance. A friend suggested that I try it anyway, and I was crazy in love with it. I said, I'm home. This is where I belong. I love this.
I was also pretty much brought up on the classics, although Jane Austen did qualify. And I never read a mystery until I was out of college. And a friend
plot oriented.
A friend from grad school said, here's an Agatha Christie. And wow, okay. And I started reading mysteries. And then when I tried writing, and then I was sort of introduced to romance that way. And one of my reactions was, okay, this connects to me, and this makes sense of why I liked the peace part of War and Peace. And I didn't care about they were having another the battle,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
what? Get back to the people and the relationships and the emotions, and that's what I really wanted.
Yeah.
So I apparently was taking that aspect of it out of the classics and jettisoning all the battles. Ugh. So I similar backgrounds in that way.
Yeah.
Okay, before you started writing, and you had these stories that you were exposed to, or movies, or stories in whatever form, did you rewrite them in your head? Did you change
Oh
the
yeah.
ending? Oh, okay.
When I watched television, my parents started. We bought a TV rather late, so I was probably 12 when we first got a TV, and we started watching TV all the time. My dad was addicted to cop shows. We watched Bonanza. Oh, I was so angry the first time I became aware that the actors on the screen are not the characters is when Parnell Roberts, who played brother Adam Cartwright on Bonanza, he left the show because he wanted more money and they wouldn't pay him more money. And when I found that out, I was so mad at him. I started writing a space opera and I made him the bad guy. And the
Ooh.
bad guy's name was Parnell because he left Bonanza and he wasn't going to be Adam anymore. I got so mad. And then I started just rewriting the endings of stories. Also, my mother and father would let us, my brother and me, watch monster movies that started at 8 o'clock. And you grew up in the Chicago area.
Yep.
The monster movie, the 8 o'clock movie, and then there was a 10:30 movie with a half hour of news in between. Well, I didn't get to watch the 10:30 movie until I was like in college. When I was a kid, we would start the 8 p.m. movie, and because my dad was crazy about monster movies, I always watched the monster movie, and then I'd be sent to bed at 9 o'clock. So I never got to watch the monster get killed. And because I was scared, I'd been watching a monster movie right before bed, I would have to have my door open so that the light from the hallway would come into my room. But then the monster movie would be roaring and screaming and everything down there. And I didn't get, so I didn't get to see them kill the monster. So I had to make up the end of the movie every time.
It was self-defense. You had to.
Yep. And besides, sometimes they didn't write the story right, and I could just tell that, or the TV show it just went wrong, and you just have to redo it because it's just wrong.
Have you told your parents that it's their fault for not letting you stay up to watch the end of the movie that made you a writer?
No, my parents passed away before I started publishing, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But my entire family is frustrated writers. Both my parents, both my grandparents. My dad was the only one who never did any writing of his own, but my mother and her two parents were all feature writers for magazines and newspapers at times. And all of them were frustrated novelists and frustrated poets, and all of their ambition funneled down onto my head. So I was born literally to be a writer. I was in the womb, I was destined to be a writer.
Did you know that from an early age, or did you resist it?
No,
resist your
I
destiny?
was for it. Because we were all story crazy, and my mother read to us. And as soon as I was old enough to read myself, I would read also. And here's an interesting thing. She started reading, like I say, she read stories that were way over my head and my brother's head. He was a year younger than me. And she read Rudyard Kipling's Kim, which is an adult novel about a young boy. So it's sort of like Ender's Game, the kind of story where it's written about a young adult, and nowadays it's marketed as young adult, but really it was written for adult readers. And there's a lot of adult material in it that, not in the X-rated sense, but just things that you need to be grown up to understand. So whenever I read Kim, I get layers of it. I say, oh yeah, that's the part I understood when I was 5.
Huh.
And that's the part, and I'm 5, and I'm reading the story. And then, oh yeah, I got that when she read it to us when we were 7, and she read it again when we were like 10. And then I just took the book out of her hands and started reading it myself every 5 or 10 years after that. So I get sort of layers of who I was then, as well as layers of understanding of the book. It's kind of a book that's got 5 or 6 incarnations.
And it's revisiting your memories as well.
Yeah, and who was I, and what did I think about it? what did I get about this incredibly fascinating and morally complex story?
And so you knew from the very beginning you wanted to be a writer. That's really interesting. I didn't come to it until I think my first ambition was to be a jockey. And then
All
I
right.
realized I was too tall in third grade.
What?
Okay, we need to rearrange that. Yeah, I was always the one at the back of the class.
Oh, come on. How tall is too tall? That's just such a shame.
And well, you got to be pretty short to be a jockey. So, and then I decided I was going to be the first woman football coach at Notre Dame. So that one still has possibilities, although I have not really built a career there. So,
No.
and it was only then that I started thinking, okay, and I didn't initially realize, like you didn't realize that the actors were paid on Bonanza, and that Pernell Roberts was a different person from Adam Cartwright. I didn't realize that people wrote books until somehow I found out that Marguerite Henry, who wrote Misty of Chincoteague, lived in Glen Ellen.
She did?
Yes. And it was right next to the town I grew up in Lombard. And then it was like, a real person? A real person writes this? And then that started the thinking of, well, if real people write these, maybe I can do this. But I think I was a little later on that than you.
Wow. When did she live there?
Oh God, I'd have to look it up. I was quite young. I don't know. She might have. You know what? We'll have to look that up.
Man, now I'm feeling gypped because my mother could have introduced me to Marguerite Henry.
It was just enough for me. It was just enough to know that a real writer lived in the town next door. That is
pretty cool. That is amazingly cool.
Yeah. Okay. What's your favorite taste?
Oh boy, there's many, but I would put chocolate at the top of the list.
And on the chance that somebody chooses to ship you quantities of chocolate, which kind?
Dark.
Okay. Are you? Oh, it's the fellow Chicagoan. Are you a Fannie Mae fan?
I was, but the company, the original owners passed, and then the company was sold, and then the people who bought the company redid all the formulas with things like, instead of butter and sugar, they put in corn syrup and corn oil, and it doesn't taste the same. But I did have a bad Fannie Mae habit. There was an outlet near me, and I had to drive there on my way to the health club. Okay, yeah, you see where that was going.
Yeah.
And they used to have factory seconds. So for $1.50, you could get a half a pound of great Fannie Mae chocolate. And that was not a pretty time for me.
I used to go, especially when I was in college, and so kind of on my own, but I'd go to the dentist, and then I would celebrate by having Fannie Mae after going to the dentist.
Yeah, okay.
Clear for another 6 months. I can have.
I totally get this.
Okay, what's your very favorite Fannie Mae?
Boy. That's tough. I guess I don't have a favorite. I liked the mints.
Oh, did you?
The chocolate mints?
Yeah. Frango mints? No, Frango is Marshall Fields. Sorry. Yeah.
I don't remember, to be honest, but I used to eat all of it.
Now, see, I agree with you that it is not the level that it was, but I still, Fannie Mae is the best.
So what was yours? Is like Turtles or one of those?
Oh, I love the Pixies. Yes, absolutely love the Pixies, especially the dark chocolate Pixies. And vanilla creams, dark chocolate vanilla creams.
It's like vanilla ice cream. It's a real test of a chocolate company. How good is their vanilla?
Oh, it's wonderful. That I just love those. Okay. I need to drag ourselves away from that. Oh, well, I will do one more Chicago thing. Well, I'll probably do more if we get into sports, but I always, I loved Marshall Fields. I have never forgiven Macy's for taking away that name. Even if they bought the store, but to make them Macy's, which is so
I know.
Bland.
My Hinky Chicago series is set in Chicago, and I have an alternate Chicago. My alternate Chicago it is still Marshall Field, not Macy's.
Yay!
And they didn't tear down the old Kraft building, the old Kraft cheese building there,
Oh,
and
yeah.
all kinds of things that I just said, all right, this didn't happen. This is my universe, and we're doing it my way now.
I like it. I like it. That's one of the joys of writing.
Yep.
And I was thrilled because my third book was set in Chicago. And
Ah,
at the time it was written, they go to shop, and the cover, the original cover from Silhouette Harlequin, had them in front of the water tower, which I was thrilled about. And the woman is carrying a Marshall Fields bag.
that's excellent.
And they got it right. It looks right. It's got the script. It's the bright dark green color. The artist did a really good job. Apparently, they were not happy with them using the Silhouette people weren't happy with a cover that had a store, basically, brand on it. Too bad. I was thrilled. It was there, So, all right, we're going to go into much Chicagoanism here. And I'll just say this. I grew up in Lombard, which is the lilac village. Do you know that? Second largest collection of lilacs in the world at one point. Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
And the Lilacia Park. Oh, big deal. It is. And there were busloads of people, garden clubs would come in the spring when the lilacs bloom. And I would be asked if I was a native lilacian.
Well,
yep.
Obviously.
Yep.
And you were.
And then I went, okay, I'll ask you, what's your favorite color?
Green.
Green. A specific shade?
I like the olive greens and the chartreuse greens, the extreme yellowy greens.
Yeah.
But any kind of green, basically. I like nature, and I relate very much to it.
I was just going to say, I'm not a real big fan of the purples. And, of course, I grew up in the lilac village.
Oh, that's practically heresy. How did you
And then I went to Northwestern, which is purple and white.
Oh, my God. You lived in Evanston? I live in Evanston. That's crazy.
Well, I lived there at Northwestern on the campus. And then one summer, I was in an apartment with some other people. It was a very interesting experience. Evanston is a cool place. Evanston is the first suburb north of Chicago on the lake.
You can walk across the city line.
Yeah. And then the North Shore, the suburbs above Evanston, are they still as swanky as they were?
Yeah, I would say so. And Evanston has its smug spots. When we moved in, we got a sweatshirt from our realtor that said, "We've got it good in Heavenston." I thought that was a little on the smug side. We have the largest high school in the state and possibly in the country. And it is a very, very cosmopolitan place. Our gangs are integrated.
Oh,
that's the kind of place Evanston is. That's how Evanston is. I love it, though. It's a very lovely place. And it really is multinational and fun and interesting, and good things.
What do you think the town's relationship is with Northwestern?
It's similar to town gown pretty much anywhere. They would like Northwestern to pay taxes. Well, good luck with that. But Northwestern brings in a very large tax base, and we're local to. That is to say, the students
are spending money. Yeah,
they're spending money, and they're buying apartments. Actually, it's a thing now. This is how rich people are nowadays. I had student loans and all that, but parents are buying their kid a condo.
Oh my gosh.
And the kid lives in the condo for 4 years of college. And at the end of 4 years, the parents sell the condo, and that pays for the kid's college education.
Ooh.
What kind of a world do we live in? This is like, oh my God, really?
Well, actually, that's a good financial plan. I had
Good.
such a good time living on campus, though. I really had
Me too.
I had a
Me too.
ball, and I would not have missed that.
That's the independent life. It's somebody cooks your meals for you. Isn't that rock?
Ooh, maybe I can go back to to college,
Right?
and
I've always
we can just skip all the classes and sit and be in the room and write.
Yes, I've always
Yeah.
thought that if I had ever made a serious amount of money, I would like donate a ridiculous amount of money to the university as long as they let me keep coming to classes
Oh,
forever.
see, I was going to skip all the classes and just stay in
I'll
the
just
room and
live in a
write.
dorm. No, that's not dumb. That sounds like a lot of
Well, I'll tell you a secret. I was in a sorority,
fun.
so
Which one?
Alpha Chi Omega.
Okay, you're Alpha Chi. So you're in the Brainiacs. Yeah, that's
But I will also tell you that we were always in trouble with the national because we didn't know all we had to write the words because you had to do certain ceremonies, and somebody from national would come, every year or every other year or something. We'd have to write the words on our arms so we could get through the ceremonies. So
Oh.
it was a great group, really, really wonderful people. Okay. Oh, God, we're not getting very far, girl. I have a couple kind of off the wall questions, and you are the perfect person to ask these of.
Huh.
So the first one is, what is good advice that you have ignored, and how did it turn out?
Well, gee, I could tell one about how a very strong minded and experienced writer warned me not to hire a specific agent. And I went ahead and did it. And I was so wrong. She was so
Oh,
right.
oh,
In fact,
oh.
a couple of times I've been told not to take a different person. I've had several agents, and a couple of times I've been warned against a specific agent. In one case, I was told, don't take an agent who approaches you.
Huh.
I said, why not? I'm so flattered. This agent wants me. Because I was just this little dewy-eyed, I have no clue. I'd never had an agent before. Oh my God. And they said, don't take an agent who wants you because uh, they have time on their hands. A good
Mm,
agent does not have time on their hands and
mm,
is not out there looking for an unpublished writer to bring into their life.
huh.
And this was a new idea for me and one that I didn't want to hear. It turned out to be right.
Well, thank you for sharing that from one of my weird questions. And now we will have another weird question.
All right.
If your writing were a color, what color would it be?
Oh, come on. All right. See, my experience. I I've done a lot of research into the history of magic. So to me, this question means what magical color would you assign to your work? Because otherwise, there's no way that you can assign one color to anyone's work, I think. And I would say that mine would be predominantly green on the Queen scale as defined by the Victorian occultists, the Victorian British occultists. You asked, you get it. This is because on the Queen scale, green corresponds with Aphrodite and love, with emeralds, roses, lynxes, gold, and of course with sex. And if you're not asking about magical correspondences to the predominant color of my
Of
work, then
course I was.
I have no idea what you're asking then. I don't know what the hell you want.
After I asked it, I thought what I probably should have asked you is what fabric would your writing be? Because I think it would be fluorescent psychedelic paisley.
We grew up in the same era. For us, paisley means slippery polyester, and
Oh,
definitely I don't do polyester.
paisley. I think of paisley too as cotton. The cotton blends and
Yeah,
cotton.
there was a cotton paisley kicking around back
Yeah.
at the dawn of time. Yeah.
I like the pattern. I like the variation of the. I tend to like the more subtle ones, though. Mine would
There's a
not be
subtle paisley.
fluorescent psychedelic.
There's a subtle paisley. What are you talking about?
Yes, there are subtle
Really?
paisleys, like there are subtle plaids.
I don't get it, but to me, plaid and paisley have always been. I mean, the whole point is to be loud. Right.
Okay, I think if we're going to have a pull quote, I think that's it for Jennifer
I don't
Stevenson.
try to be loud. You have to understand, I was born loud, but I don't try to be loud. It just,
Well, you're not loud in volume.
that's comforting.
You're loud in other ways. Okay, I gotta ask you because we could chatter on and on. I know. So I've got to ask you questions that come from readers, and I'm gonna start with two that I associate. So I put them together. The first reader says, "When the cover image doesn't match the character description, and it's a pet peeve of hers, how does it feel for the author?" Now, I how do you how do you put covers on Coed Demon Sluts?
I knew from the beginning I wanted to have chick litty, cartoony covers because I knew that the title was going to send one message and the cover was going to send another. And I deliberately wanted to mess with the reader's head. This series is the closest to my heart, and it messes with the reader's head as more than any series I've ever done. And it messed with my head a lot in a lot of wonderful ways because I was doing a lot of weird shit. But I didn't really care terribly. First of all, I was commissioning the cover, so I didn't have to worry about whether the characters looked like my character on the cover looked like my characters in the story, because they would, because I was paying for that cover, and I was paying an artist. I paid a lot of money to a really great artist to get that stuff. But I wanted the covers to say chicklet. I wanted them to say, this is about the women. This is not about some guy. You know, romances with billionaires on the cover have a picture of the billionaire. They don't have a picture of any women. These are stories about women who've got stuff coming down in their lives. So I didn't want I wanted them to have that sort of cartoony stick figure, conventional chick lit look, where of course she's a size 0, because aren't they all? unless they're who was that
Bridget Jones.
Bridget Jones. She wasn't a stick figure, but it seems like all the other ones are, Miranda. So we are not all built like that, but I didn't want to say this is about the sex. I wanted to say this is about the women.
Okay.
And I got that because, like I said, I paid for it.
So the demon doesn't make it on the cover.
Oh, they're all wearing demon horns.
Oh, okay. Actually, they're demons. Okay.
In each cover, the girl who is the demon du jour, the one who the book is about, is wearing the horns.
I gotcha. All right.
There's several characters in the story on the cover, but the one who is the protagonist is wearing the horns. They're little pink horns. They're pink.
Okay. Another reader asks how much it bothers us to find editing errors after the book is out.
Oh, that happens in every book. Editing errors are like door dings on a brand new car. You will find, the first time you ding your door, you hate yourself, right? And you just want to commit harakiri.
Yes.
And if it's somebody else who does it, you want to kill them. And sometimes you discover you bought it and it had a door ding on it.
Oh, no.
And that just, of course, I've been buying used cars my whole life, so I'm pretty immune to that stuff. But I try to be calm about it. My first book was a small press book, and it was incredibly clean and beautiful and gorgeous. And that sort of spoiled me. And my next 3 were with a big downtown publisher, and there were errors all over it. Mm-hmm. And I just learned to breathe, be calm, have a margarita, and, because it told me things about the business. I was seeing it as a businesswoman. And at that point, I had been a member of Romance Writers of America for a number of years, and I had learned stuff that, as a reader, I had thought, as a reader, you come to a typo, maybe you get outraged. Well, back in the day, you could be outraged because there weren't that many typos. Now things are different.
Well, I'm finding so many typos in traditional books and in
Yes.
mainstream media when it's online. I'm
Yeah.
shocked by how many.
Well, that's the thing, and when my first mass market release had errors in it, I thought, okay, my Romance Writers of America friends were not kidding.
Yeah.
There are going to be boo-boos.
Yep.
You're going to get someone on the cover. You know the story about the woman in the Harlequin who got her Harlequin romance had the cover. The heroine had 3 arms.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the artist just hadn't painted out the other third arm, and nobody had caught it. And so she just made capital out of it. She promoted that book as, I'm the one who wrote the romance of the hero with 3 arms. Now that I'm independently published as well, I know that if I find mistakes, and I do, I keep a file. I put the mistakes, every time I read through the book for one reason or another, I'll say, oh, there's another one. And when I've built up a list, then about every year and a half, I go through the book, I republish it, I fix all the errors in there, I change whatever I add new book. I've written new books. I put the new books in the back. It just goes in with all the other housekeeping that I do at the whenever you clean up your book at the end of the year.
I have the delightful luxury of sending them to my assistant, Kay. So
Yay!
she keeps track of all those, and especially with the live series, the series where I'm still adding books to them. We go in and update them every time there's a new book because you're going into them, so yeah, absolutely,
Right,
we
you
do
might as well.
all that fixing.
As long as you're going in there, yeah, fix it.
Unless there's a really horrible one, and I have on occasion said, "This, I just can't bear to have this out there any longer with this. Fix it now." And even though it's not very economical, but going crazy isn't economical either. So that's my theory.
No.
All right. A reader also asks, "Where do your stories come from?" And this is going to be a really interesting question for you. This reader says that she knows an author who dreams her stories and another where the characters just sort of take up residence in her head. And then she says, "So how are your beautiful stories born?"
Oh, that's assuming I write beautiful stories.
It is, and I think that's a very nice assumption. So just take it and take it to your heart and hold it there. You write beautiful stories.
Well, they come in all kinds of places. For example, my series Slacker Demons, I got the title first because I've been watching a lot of Judd Apatow bro movies, super bad and knocked up in a 40-year-old virgin. And I really love that slacker guy culture he does so well. And I just love it. These 5 guys living like pigs in this subdivision house and doing a lot of weed and being idiots and living like undergraduates in their 30s. And I thought, this is really hilarious. So I added the word demon to that. And all of a sudden I had Slacker Demons. And all of a sudden I saw it. I knew it was the same bunch of guys, only somehow they're all gods who are retired from different religions that are now defunct. And they've all got jobs with the Christian hell as sex demons because it's easy work, and they can smoke a lot of dope and meet girls. So boom, there's the whole series just happened in my head with those 2 words, Slacker Demons. And Coed Demon Sluts came into my head because I had married off all the Slacker Demons at the end of that series, and I had this awesome empty demon lair. This was a big loft space down in one of the neighborhoods in Chicago, and
Which one?
Was sitting
Tell
empty.
us which neighborhood.
Oh, you know the neighborhood. It's in Ravenswood Manor.
Oh, okay.
Right up against the L, in an area which is partly residential and partly industrial. So there's factories mixed in with homes and things like that, and apartments. And it was great. It's got 6 refrigerator freezers, 5 widescreen Game Boy TVs with 5 Lazy Boy chairs in front of them so you can sit there and drink your beer and play your Grand Theft Auto, and 2 Margaritaville machines, 1 broken, and no laundry machine of any kind. Right? They're growing marijuana up under the skylight, and they've got a sauna in the back, down on the factory floor, and they've got a hot tub on the roof. But when their jeans get dirty, they throw them away because they're, hey, we make enough money. We're not going to do laundry. Anyway, so I needed to have a story for that. I didn't want to throw that setting away. I was in love with the setting. So then I thought, well, what if I put girl demons in there?
Oh.
And that was the beginning of Coed Demon Sluts. The title Coed Demon Sluts comes from a local Chicago long-running play called Coed Prison Sluts, which ran for like 25 years in Chicago. I never went to see it, but I loved the title. So I thought Coed Demon Sluts, awesome. But then I started thinking about it. Why would a woman sign up to be a sex demon? I mean, if you ask a guy, why would you sign up to be a sex demon? He's like, duh, trick question, right? But I did focus interviews with, for like 2 years, i.e. random bar conversations at conventions, asking.
That's your focus group.
What would make you sign a contract with hell to become a succubus? And I told them, here's the deal. You get an invulnerable, eternally young body. You can change the way it looks any way you want. Tall, fat, short, thin, any color. You can change the size. You never have to try on a bra again. Because you go to the store, you like the bra, you buy it, you take it home, you make yourself fit the bra. You never have to try on a pair of blue jeans again. Have I got your attention yet? You have to eat 4,500 calories a day or you will get fat. And that meant that I could write reams and reams of chapters about food. Everybody, forget cozy mysteries about cupcakes, man. I got to wallow in, everything, all kinds of food. But women are not interested in this deal for the sex. They're interested in it because
the perks, huh?
They want those perks. They want power. Some of them would say, I would sign up to get power. Some of them say specifically, I want power in bed. Someone would do it for the money. Some of them would do it because, they've always felt too thin, too short, too fat, too tall. They want their body to be different. But way down on the list is the sex, except the lesbians. Most of the lesbians said, duh, is this a trick question? Which makes you wonder if, I've been married to a man for 40 plus years, but I wonder what these gals have got going on here. All the straight women were, anyway.
They wanted those.
So your question is about where do the ideas come from? Wherever, ideas are cheap.
Reader asked the question, and you said that you kind of missed the location, the world that you had set that in after you'd married off all the slacker demons. But this reader asks if you miss the characters when you're done, and with a book, and do you think about them, and then do you ever revisit them?
I think about revisiting them sometimes, but generally I write. When I write a series, I have the end of the series in mind when I start it.
Oh, okay.
And I have a limited cast of characters. I learned this from romance writers. In fantasy and science fiction, they don't think that much like that. They think in terms of open-ended series that go on forever. But I have a specific set of characters I want to write about. And I know how roughly what's going to happen to each guy or each woman in the story, right? I know what their issues are and, maybe how I'm going to address them. So by the time I'm done with the series, I've usually written the easy ones first, the characters who I knew right away how that story was going to go. And that's how the first books come out really fast. And then I hit right around book 4, I realized, okay, this character is going to be harder. I'm eager to get there. I'm eager to get to those characters, yes. And they've been kicking around as secondary characters for several books. So yes, I want to see them, more of them. I want to write more about them. I want to get to their story. And if I've been waiting because I've put off that character, because, there's going to be something hard about that. Now you hit the marshmallow wall. Oh my God, I didn't think this one through when I designed this character, and I've built in a lot of his backstory in the first 3 books, so I'm stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I've got to unscrew the things that have become inscrutable. And there we are. So by the time I'm done with the series, I'm like, okay, thank God I'm out of here. There are things that are probably, I might like to go back and visit those characters again. But after the scars have healed, and I don't remember what a pain it was to write that last book and how I was tearing my hair out because I hadn't planned this one part. And it's time to plan it, girl, because this is the last book in the series. Readers are going to want to know, why did you do that?
I should remind everybody that we will have links for Jennifer Stevenson's webpage and social media, and that will help you all find. Those will all be in her books and more about her, and those will all be in the show notes. So that makes it much easier. You can click rather than trying to write something down while you're listening. I always say it's my favorite part. These are rapid fire either ors. Are you ready? Are you strapped in?
I'm strapped in.
Binge watch or make the watching last as long as possible.
Oh, binge. But I might have to wait like 2 years until I get the time to sit down and binge because deadlines, right? Unlike some people I know who will spend 3 hours on an interview when they're on deadline.
Yeah, rapid fire, Jen. Rapid fire, remember?
I talk fast.
Spring or fall?
Oh, spring.
Ice cream or cake?
Ice cream.
Cruise or trekking vacation?
Trek.
Cat or dog?
Cat.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
I've pained you with these. Heels or slippers?
Slippers.
Jigsaw puzzle or crossword puzzle?
Either one. Jigsaw, I guess. Bananagrams.
Appetizer or dessert?
Oh, I'm on the wagon now, so I can't have sugar anymore, so appetizer.
Daisies or roses?
Roses.
Hot air balloon or train trip?
Oh, train.
Leggings or sweats?
Leggings.
Sailboat or motorboat?
Sail.
Nail polish or bare nails?
Bear.
Winter Olympics or Summer Olympics?
Summer.
Mustard or ketchup?
Mustard.
Pickup or sports car?
Oh, you're really killing me. Sports car.
Hiking boots or cowboy boots?
Hiking.
Opera or show tunes?
Ugh. Opera.
Day or night?
Day.
Mountains or beach?
You're killing me. All right, beach. God.
Paper plates or best china?
Paper plates. I smash everything.
House decorating or gardening?
Gardening.
Okay, and now the last. Grab the best first or save the best for last.
Oh, I do save the best for last, and it's dumb because life is short. Eat dessert first.
Thank you so much, Jennifer Stevenson, for spending this time with us. And it's been a lot of fun. I'm sure the readers have gotten to know you considerably better than they did. I hope so, anyhow.
Well, thank you. You've been a terrific interviewer.
Oh, so thanks. Good. And to the listeners, come back next week and we'll have another episode and you'll get to hear another author. Get to listen in as we talk about writing and get to know that author better. In the meantime, have a terrific week of happy reading. That's the show for this week. Hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for joining Authors Love Readers podcast. Remember, you can always find out more about our guest authors in the show notes, and you can find out more about me at www.patriciamclinn.com. You can also send in questions to be asked of future authors at podcast@authorslovereaders.com. Until next week, wishing you lots of happy reading. Bye.